Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. I'm Utsaf Parekh and here are the top stories of the day. Let's begin with updates from the Israel-Hamas war. Explosions and streams of flares continued to be seen in Gaza as Israeli forces continue their ground assault. Israel has said that its forces are set to intensify their operations against Hamas. Meanwhile, officials in Gaza have said that the death toll in the region is reaching close to 10,000. The Israeli army has released a new video. The army says that it has opened what it calls a humanitarian corridor. This is to allow civilians in northern Gaza to evacuate to the south. An Israeli army official has asked Gazan residents to evacuate the northern part of the enclave, which he described as a war zone. New footage showed heavy bombardment in areas surrounding the Al-Quds hospital in Gaza. The video was released by the Palestinian Red Crescent Society. The organization has said that the hospital was targeted with heavy airstrikes and artillery bombardment, leading to several injuries. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reiterated his rejection of a ceasefire in Gaza. This is until all the hostages captured by Hamas are returned. Netanyahu said, and I quote, "There will be no ceasefire without the return of our hostages. We say this to both our enemies and our friends." Last week, Israel said that according to a new calculation, Hamas has captured 242 hostages. An Israeli strike on a car in South Lebanon killed 3 children and their grandmother over the weekend. A Hezbollah lawmaker has called the attacks, quote-unquote, a dangerous development. It added that Israel would pay a price for its actions. Israel and Hezbollah have been exchanging fire across the Israel-Lebanon border ever since the October 7th Hamas attack. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that American officials were working to secure a humanitarian pause in Gaza. He added that this would help in getting more aid into Gaza and getting hostages held by Hamas released. Blinken said this after an unannounced stop in Iraq over the weekend. This was his first trip to the country as the top U.S. diplomat, where he held talks with the Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammad al-Sudani. Turkiye has recalled its ambassador to Israel. This is for consultations due to the humanitarian crisis amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Israel has called Ankara's decision another step to side with the terrorist organization Hamas. Last month, Israel's envoys to Turkiye also left the country due to security reasons. Hundreds of people at a pro-Palestine rally tried to storm an airbase that houses U.S. troops in Turkiye. The protesters waved Turkish flags and Palestinian flags and chanted slogans. They also toppled barricades and clashed with police in riot gear. Meanwhile, the police used tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowd. In other political news, Russian drone attacks on Ukraine's Odesa left at least 5 people injured on Sunday. It set trucks with grain on fire and damaged one of the city's principal art galleries. The Odesa National Art Museum is one of the oldest palaces of Odessa. It houses more than 10,000 pieces of art by some of the best-known Russian and Ukrainian artists. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is in Beijing for a 4-day visit. He will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping during the trip. Albanese said that he was positive about his upcoming meeting with Xi. His visit to China is the first by an Australian leader in 7 years. The meeting aims to patch up relations between the countries that had deteriorated over several years. India has sent a plane carrying humanitarian aid to Nepal. This contains medicines and relief materials for the country. The aid was flown following a deadly earthquake that killed at least 158 people over the weekend. A 6.4 magnitude quake struck the Jajarkot region on Friday night. The Hamburg airport in Germany has been reopened after it was closed on Friday. The airport was closed after a car ran through a barrier onto the ground. The car was driven by a 35-year-old man. The man's 4-year-old son was with him in the car as he parked his vehicle beneath a plane on the airport tarmac. The police have arrested the man and say it was likely a matter of custody dispute. 5 people, including 2 children, were killed and several have been injured in an Australian town. This was after a car crashed into a crowd on the front lawn of a pub. The driver, a 66-year-old man, was taken to the hospital. His breath was tested, which showed that he was not under the influence of alcohol. The police plan to interview him later to find out the reason for the crash. In climate news, residents of India's capital New Delhi and nearby areas are still struggling with hazardous seasonal pollution. The pollution marker, the Air Quality Index or AQI, remained between 400 to 450. A score of above 100 is considered unhealthy in India. Officials say that they saw no immediate improvement in the air quality. The death toll in Italy's flood-hit Tuscany region has risen to 7. The flood happened after torrential rains caused a river's banks to burst. Over 300 people had to be evacuated from their homes in Tuscany. The flood has reportedly caused damage worth over $320 million. Storm Domingos hit western France yesterday. The storm resulted in heavy rainfall and strong winds. Over 247,000 houses suffered power cuts as a result of both Storm Domingos and Storm Ciarán. Storm Ciarán hit Western Europe a few days ago, causing a lot of damage. Storm Domingos and Ciarán have collectively claimed the lives of 3 people. 3 people have died after a plane that was fighting wildfires in Australia crashed. The cause of the crash is still unknown. The aircraft was being used for fire mapping in the affected region. More than a dozen wildfires are active in Australia. A deal has been signed to aid countries affected by climate change. The deal took place at a 2-day meeting in the UAE under the UN's guidance. Rich countries will contribute funds for the rehabilitation of countries in distress. The major contributors will be the US, UK and the EU. The World Bank will administer the funds. The blueprint will be formally adopted at the COP28 UN Climate Summit taking place in Dubai this month. According to a recent UN report, most major companies will not be able to meet their climate target guidelines. Half of the world's top 2,000 listed companies aim for net zero emissions by 2050. However, only 4% of these targets actually align with the UN's Race to Zero criteria. Developers in Florida are constructing houses keeping in mind the extreme weather conditions. These houses are not only climate change friendly but also environment friendly. Solar panels are being securely installed to ensure storm-resilient clean power. Recycled and energy-efficient materials are being used to lessen the environmental impact. Now on to business and tech news. Shipping giant Maersk has said it would cut at least 10,000 jobs. The company says this is to deal with overcapacity, rising costs and weaker prices. The Danish shipping group said that the layoffs will save the firm $600 million next year. This comes after Maersk reported a steep drop in third-quarter profit and revenue. The Washington Post has named William Lewis as its new chief executive officer. Lewis was earlier the chief executive and publisher of the Wall Street Journal. The publisher also added that it is looking to eliminate 10% of its staff. This will reduce its headcount by 940. This comes as the Post is projected to end the year by taking $100 million in loss. Chinese electric vehicle maker NIO is also planning to trim its workforce by 10%. The job cuts will take effect this month. NIO says the redundancies will help the company improve its efficiency and reduce costs amid growing competition. A price war started by US automaker Tesla is dragging down profitability of EV-making companies. Companies have moved to cutting costs and building partnerships to survive amid the escalating competition. Meanwhile, in a reversal of the trend, General Motors will cancel its planned layoffs. The automaker has halted its plan to cut over 1,000 positions in its factories in Brazil. This was after a union carried out a 13-day strike against the job cuts. A Brazilian labor court also rejected the company's request for an injunction to maintain the layoffs. Reports say electric vehicle maker Tesla will hike the wages of its German workers by 4%. Last week, the company informed its 11,000 workers of the rise. The US electric maker will also pay a $1,600 bonus in December to offset inflation. And from February next year, annual wages will be raised by an additional $2,600. Earlier, a German union had said at Tesla, wages were around 20% below the market standard. Investment company Bain Capital will reportedly acquire Guidehouse for $5.3 billion. Guidehouse is a financial consulting firm that advises government organizations and businesses. An agreement could be announced as soon as Monday. Alibaba's Ant Group has received an approval from the Chinese government. This is to release its artificial intelligence products to the public. Unlike other countries, China requires companies to submit security assessments and receive clearances before releasing their AI products. Elon Musk's artificial intelligence startup xAI will be integrated into his social media platform X. He said this in a post on the platform formerly known as Twitter. Last week, xAI released its first artificial intelligence model after making it available to all X Premium Plus subscribers. In July this year, Musk launched the AI startup. It aims to create AI tools that, quote-unquote, assist humanity in its quest for understanding and knowledge. Britain's competition watchdog has accepted commitments from tech companies Meta and Amazon. This is to help protect fair competition on their retail platforms. Amazon has committed not to use rival sellers' marketplace data to gain an unfair advantage. Meanwhile, Meta signed commitments to avoid exploiting its advertising customers' data on Facebook Marketplace. TikTok CEO Shuzi Chu will meet European Union officials this week. This will be Chu's second visit to Brussels. It comes amid heightened regulatory scrutiny of TikTok's role in the proliferation of disinformation related to the Israel-Hamas war. In the meeting, Chu also aims to brief the officials on the company's compliance with new EU online content rules. We move on to sports now and begin with the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup 2023. India remained triumphant yet again, showing absolutely fine form. India beat South Africa at the Eden Gardens by 243 runs. With their 8th consecutive win, India equaled their best ever winning run in the 50-over tournament. India had notched up 8 wins during their run in the finals to the finals in 2003. It was an attacking start by skipper Rohit Sharma and opener Shubman Gill. The batters were hitting boundaries from the very first over, hitting 8 fours in the first 4 overs. Rohit Sharma hit 5 of these boundaries. He added another 4 and 2 sixes in the very next over of Lungi Nagidi. However, he was brilliantly caught by Ember Bavuma of Rabada. After Rohit Sharma's dismissal came in the man of the hour, Virat Kohli. 5,800 pairs of eyes were stuck on every ball that came to Kohli's bat, and Virat Kohli stood there steady, showcasing a fine game of cricket. 3 balls into the 48th over, the moment had finally arrived. With a back foot punch, Kohli ran for a single and equalled his tally of 49 ODI hundreds with his idol Sachin Tendulkar. He removed his helmet, raised his arm, gazed skywards and waved his bat towards the dressing room. During the mid-innings interval, Virat Kohli said, and I quote, "Every opportunity to play for India is a big one for me, and to be able to do this on my birthday in front of such a huge crowd at the Eden Gardens is the stuff of dreams. It's something that you wish for as a child." He added that he would just continue to try and help the team in any way possible. With 101 by Virat Kohli, India imposed a total of 326 on the board. The Indian bowling attack remained dominant once again and ripped through the formidable South African batting lineup. Indian bowlers struck immediately with the new ball, accounting for South Africa's top order in the first power play. The Proteas lost 7 wickets inside 19 overs in a chase of 326 runs. Indian pacers wrapped up the South African side for just 83 runs, ending the game with a smooth victory. Giving Mohammad Shami a break from his 5-wicket haul, it was Ravindra Jadeja who spun the ball and bagged 5, derailing the effort by the Proteas. He cleaned the stumps of Temba Bavuma, David Miller, Klaasen, Keshav Maharaj and Rabada. Jadeja has become the first Indian bowler to get a 5-wicket haul against South Africa in World Cups. It was Siraj who struck for India early on, dismissing the dangerous Quinton de Kock in the second over. Siraj, Shami, Bumrah and Kuldeep Yadav further upped the pressure with a series of dot balls. Shami ended the first power play dismissing Markham to nick one behind the wicket. Now let's look at what's happening to Sri Lanka. The island nation's sports minister has sacked the National Cricket Board days after a humiliating defeat against India at the World Cup. Sports Minister Roshan Ranasinghe has been at loggerheads with the Sri Lankan Cricket Board for months over allegations of widespread corruption. The 1996 World Cup winning skipper Arjuna Ranatunga has been appointed chairman of a new interim board. The Indian women's hockey team dethroned Japan to crown themselves Asian champions. Trophy winners Savita Punia and team dominated the final and won 4-0 in Ranchi. Sangeeta Kumari, Neha Goyal, Lalrem Siami and Vandana Kataria scored for the team. India had last won the title in 2016 in Singapore. On to Formula 1. Max Verstappen has done it again, securing his 17th win in a record-breaking season. Red Bull's 3-time world champion claimed pole, resisting early pressure from Lando Norris to triumph in an accident and incident-hit Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Verstappen came home 8.277 seconds ahead of McLaren's Norris. In entertainment news, the Hollywood Actors Union is evaluating the latest offer from major studios. They had a meeting yesterday to discuss the terms. According to reports, the actors have got studios to accept most of their demands. If the actors' strike doesn't end by November, however, then 2024's productions will take a hit. The Hollywood actors have been on strike since July this year. Actor Robert De Niro is currently fighting a lawsuit brought by his former assistant Graham Chase Robinson. During the trial, Robinson revealed that she felt physically uncomfortable because of De Niro. She recalled him swearing at her and asking her to scratch his back. Robinson has sued De Niro and his company over gender discrimination, among other things. He's facing a $12 million lawsuit. A film titled Barbenheimer is in the works. Earlier this year, the box office clash of the Barbie movie and Oppenheimer led to the coining of the term Barbenheimer. Now, producer and director Charles Band has decided to make a film with dolls and bombs. The plot reportedly revolves around a doll trying to destroy the world with a nuclear bomb. Taylor Swift's latest release, 1989 Taylor's Version, is making waves. 1989 Taylor's Version became this year's best-selling album in America within a week. It's at the top of the Billboard 200, vinyl and streaming album charts, with over 1.6 million units sold in the US and 3.5 million globally. Taylor Swift is the first artist with 6 #1 album debuts, each selling over 1 million units. 1989 Taylor's Version also outperformed the original album. South Korean singer Jungkook has revealed that he declined to perform at rapper Suga's show multiple times. But he eventually changed his mind and supported his fellow BTS member by joining him on stage. Jungkook performed at the rapper's Suga August D tour in August this year. Parasite actor Lee Sun-kyun is under investigation over suspected drug consumption. He has admitted to taking drugs but says that he was tricked into it. Lee has accused a manager of an adult establishment of tricking him into taking drugs. Earlier, drug tests done by South Korean authorities had come back negative. American musician Travis Barker welcomed a baby with media personality Kourtney Kardashian. Barker and Kardashian tied the knot last year in Italy. Even before they got married, they had spoken about expanding their family. Kourtney Kardashian also has 3 children with her former partner Scott Disick. Actor Russell Brand was accused of sexual assault again last Friday. The latest accuser says Brand assaulted her on the sets of the 2011 film Arthur. She was an extra on the film, but her identity has not been made public. She says Brand exposed himself to her, followed her into a bathroom and then assaulted her. This is the latest in multiple sexual assault allegations against Brand. Paul McCartney is one of 2 surviving band members of the Beatles. Following the release of the iconic band's last song, McCartney paid tribute to his old bandmates. In an interview, he said, "I like the idea of not letting go of each other." He admitted feeling bittersweet and lucky after seeing pictures of his late bandmates John Lennon and George Harrison. Actor Peter White has passed away at the age of 86. He was battling skin cancer and passed away in his Los Angeles home. White was known for his performances in The Boys in the Band and his recurring role in the show All My Children. That's all for this episode of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to First Post.